We got another installment of the Lore Mundo. Mundo. UFOs, or whatever it's called. Flying saucers and the Father's plan. Reconciling Christianity with science and philosophy. By Lore Mundo. Mando. Boomdo. Chapter 9. Marriage on Other Planets. If we will look, this is the book's over in 17 pages, so hopefully we come to some great revelation here soon. Marriage on other planets. If we will look at China, Tibet, India, and the Arab countries today, we will see countries whose mystics withdrew from humanity rather than becoming their godlike leaders. What a turn of events these people are in for soon. Some of them for countless years. In religious orders particularly, when the money system goes and such individuals discover the true way to serve God, the adjustment will be difficult. They will find they are not serving an organization supported by this money system, but giving their daily labors in a moneyless system to all indiscriminately just by reason of doing so. More and more, however, the ancient pattern repeats itself as more men and women retire into religious orders, even though they are now working with humanity more than they did in the past, while acquiring living security that the layperson does not have, while they are being supported by the layperson who, incidentally, considers it is a privilege and believes it is pleasing to God. Marriage has come to be considered a trap also, since the churches have promoted celibacy as ideal. This has been an erroneous attitude, just as the wrong accents were placed on Jesus' statement, "Whom God has brought together, let no man put asunder," taking it for granted that God has initiated all marriage. Those whom God has brought together, no man can separate, even if he wanted to. Neither can any man keep a marriage together when the Father is moving two people who are not growing or keeping each other from growing into separate pathways. Many priests and nuns have joined religious orders. Isn't that the entire purpose of being a priest and a nun? Unaware that their previous intimacies with the opposite sexes were marriages, or would have been had they participated in them openly. And honestly, the human minds of even those sincerely considering they are giving themselves up to God are unaware that everything they think is known by the Father, or their highest self. It is then that the human mind begins to be honest with itself, its own worst victim. Every kind of group, including family groups on the other planets, has two co-leaders, male and female, through which the Father can work alternately, of course. To keep things balanced, all members of the group are, of course, co-workers, including the co-leaders. The Father uses the housewife and mother on this planet, who, this time around, has kept out of the priesthood as its teachings crystallized. The Father can use her right where she is, chatting over the backyard fence. Hey, just like Laura's old 1950s radio program on WKMH in Dearborn. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that's literally what it was called. Chatting over the backyard fence. Writing letters to friends, relatives, and editors of papers about the visitors. All such housewives will want to do just this, as soon as they realize there's a way out of the coming planetary disaster. Not for the sake of just their children, but for the sake of all children and people. This is the universal way of thought. As on all other planets, her vote can now be heard, and she is becoming more and more active in politics as well, where she can begin the ball rolling to consider the dissolving of this money system within our own borders in order to beat to the punch those forcing equalization upon others. Exploited by our own selves and other Western powers at a lesser level through the past, she is taking upon herself the responsibility of shopping as women do on other planets. Though they're on the honor system without money, taking only what her family needs until all people in those countries that will work with us to form a common humanity, as opposed to the common European market that might find us on the outside looking in. People in moneyless societies and other planets are properly cared for and given an opportunity to work at what is needed to be done in exchange for their labors rather than charity or governmental loans hijacked by their authorities. All people on other planets, including children, have planetary projects, which we would term jobs. Working a few hours each day, manual labor is eliminated by automation. Oh, wait, they have robots on these other planets? All right, cool. Because it glorifies God's planet or improves it. There's nothing wrong with comfort and luxuries for themselves, excepting where the individual does not yet understand the need to hold up his end, relaxing when he obtains his need. The pious soul mind on such planets gives up what God intended for us to have and share, according to need and cooperative effort. At first, we on this planet perhaps will have to establish a voluntary controlling credit system, or go hog wild. Those with wealth will want to cooperate as well. Now you're really dreaming, Laura. People with wealth ain't ever going to cooperate. When it is learned that it is the only avenue open for us, or alternative to being reborn as individuals on a less evolved planet. Obviously, Laura didn't understand the caste system here. Some people have advanced the idea that Earthmen's next step is a sexless state. Nothing could be further from the truth. Oh, you're so wrong there, Laura. This is the biggest bill of goods the negative polarity of being ever sold to the human mind. Oh shit, we lost in the landscape mode. Sex under the Father's guidance, as carried out on other planets, is the next step for us. Not necessarily in our next lifetime, but right now on this planet. Sexual desire increases with the rise and vibration of the individual, and he must learn to balance it, neither running from it or succumbing to it out of proportion to natural living. The free thinker often advocates free love, which he soon realizes must have control. Then he must advocate expanding man's laws to control what he cannot control himself. Mankind has not yet learned that legislation cannot control emotion or sex. Only man himself, through greater understanding, can accomplish this. Man will learn to divorce honestly when a marriage is stalemated, which limits the growth of the mate with lesser understanding as well as the other partner with greater understanding. Man will learn to raise the animal, vegetable, and mineral world in vibration, the Father activating itself at and as their atomic centers. George King, the British mystic, has a glimmering of this idea, though a rather odd way of trying to apply it. He has been going about recharging mountains, which he says the visitors whom he contacts in trance have instructed him to do. This is an idea similar to that of the Roman Christian Church, which blesses inanimate objects. This represents a distorted understanding of the energies that pass through the masses of humanity, raising the atoms of all lesser kingdoms in the process. Of course, this is a rather useless operation at the present time, since everything on this planet is overcharged the way it is, especially the Earthman's atmosphere, from his too positive and too negative thinking. George King must be a visitor too. No one else would have such audacity. That cannot be the end of the chapter. It is. All right, I guess we continue. We may finish this book today. We, as in me and the visitors. Yes, I've been using some cocoa butter on my hands since they look like the crypt keepers from having no moisture. All right, let's see how long this chapter is. I know I've got enough time, but let's do it. I don't care. Actually, I do care. I don't want to read this for hours. Let's see how much. It's not too bad. 4 or 5 pages. Chapter 10, Rebirth on Other Planets. One of the greatest errors that the Christian Church has made, has been withholding from the advancing races the idea of rebirth over and over on this planet. This soon will be proved by the fingerprint science about which I have often written and lectured. This revelation came to me as I was reading something totally unrelated, resting after a very difficult project in 1960. The thought popped into my head that this was a fact, although I had never heard of the idea before. Usually the Father's thoughts come filtering into one's mind. But this was an entirely different mental process. This came through very sharp and clear, like a loud pop, though silent, as though someone were sending it to me. Prayer, Earthman is always gradually learning this mental telepathy also, or an attempt at it with no idea of whom or what the praying person might be attempting to contact. The natural fact of rebirth could be proven right away by the use of fingerprints taken of criminals and members of the armed services since the development of this science. These fingerprints could be compared with those of all children born since then, especially back into the same family areas. Then I believe are sort of report cards on all of us and the files on the other planets, kept up to date in an impartial manner. We can be sure these will be shown to us one of these days, from the beginning of time to our demotion. FBI cooperated with me in studying this matter. All right, I don't believe that. A project you, as an individual, could also take upon yourself if one of your relatives was killed while in the armed service. You should take the fingerprints of any child in the family who you have felt could be this dead individual in reborn state. Simply use an ink pad and send to the branch of service he was in with his identity and ask them to forward it to the FBI in Washington and to obtain a comparison. It must be done this way. The FBI will cooperate, but they must have the request from the armed service before they will be able to do so. In my own instance, however, the FBI was unable to locate any matching print, the father not yet ready for the idea to be sprung on the public. I am to continue this idea as a preliminary effort, however, so that when the proof does come through, others will be informed and can discuss it with those who ask questions. The father, through Paul, told co-workers that he would have to cause them to be reborn until the Christ, increasing positive energies to balance their negatively predominant body-mind self, was formed in them. Galatians 4:19. For the benefit of those who wish such references to pass on to others, the idea that Jesus was thought to be Elijah, reborn as well, was known but ignored. Not John the Baptist, who denied it, is one example. Jesus also told those Jews who noted that Abraham had died, as great as he was, but Jesus was saying that if they believed in his teachings, they would not die, that before Abraham was, I am. He was Abraham, reborn Abraham from being another identity before that, and so on and on and on. A hidden way of teaching rebirth that had, by the time, been forgotten, as it still is today. I may actually go and look into one of these wild claims. So I'm sure others are doing it as well. The ancients indeed knew about rebirth. For example, in the Hebrew book of Holy Law, the Talmud, it is recorded that Abel was reborn Seth, later as Noah and Moses. As it was, Jesus had to go hide as they began to throw rocks at him. Consequently, by the time that Christianity formed, adopting many Jewish ideas, it was forgotten. As time went on, understanding came to me that these individuals whose fingerprints the FBI could not match had not been reborn back on this planet this time, but had been taken from the battlefield, probably into the spaceships, to be awakened from the dead. As I also had discovered before and since then, some visitors who die suddenly and are supposedly buried, as they had to do in the past, when their hitch was up. The hell does that mean? When their hitch was up. Such earthlings, however, may be brought back alive, better rebalanced to continue their growth, because they are a part of the group of those who universal understanding and are able to be moved on with them. There is no longer time to be reborn and to mature on this planet. So close is the termination of this present civilization. Consequently, and this is important, cremation of those who have universal understanding or belong to those who have it. I hate these pages. Ugh. And who die must not be done. This we have done in the past. hoping that through the process a faster rebirth on more advanced planets might be affected. But rebirth actually took place back here. As time grew short, humanity, however, in the main, upon dying, must be cremated for that reason. Wait a minute. Humanity, however, in the main, upon dying, must be cremated for that reason. I don't know what this is about. This is not yet a custom and not allowed by some churches, unaware they are holding up the rebirth of some of their popes whose bodies they have bragged are preserved for centuries. The visitors have to send an unseeable ray into graves of such individuals who are due for immediate rebirth to disintegrate their bodies, although those who have become one with the Father will go alive to more advanced planets after helping to bring the universal way of life to this planet. Those coming through the planetary changes or to live for a long time without dying on this planet also. When my former husband, Otto Marxer, died on April 17, 1962, the problem of a type of burial to have came up. He had been alone in this country, his people being in Europe. I would have automatically considered cremation, but Michael, our elder son, felt that since his father had been born a Catholic, we should give him a Catholic burial, even though Otto had not left any request as to burial. Nor had he done little thinking about such matters in life. I could not let my human mind insist that cremation was what I knew should be done. So I acquiesced. Since many of his and our friends were Protestants, it was quite an experience, as we were for the first time exposed to Catholic ritual. Although our new friends were universally minded, also questioning such a burial, the officiating priest found it unusual, as well, to see so many non-Catholics gathered and felt it was necessary to explain much of their ritual to us and to hear it themselves, those Catholics attending likewise, through our own eyes and ears. So Otto was not cremated, to all appearances, because it was against the laws of the church, although living bodies are still being blown up by bombs because of the money system. That's true, which limits progress and about which churches do nothing. That's true too. I discovered later that Michael had been used by the Father, killing many birds with one stone. His gimmick was used for many things. The priests were unaware of what was happening, saying rituals over a body that was not present and which would come back alive before a memorial mass might ever get to be said for him. So crowded are their calendars, a tremendous amount of monetary income which will have to go. In many other types of social operations, this would be considered fraud, since the vast majority of our dead have been reborn back here. But she mean he wasn't present. His gimmick was used for many things. The priests were unaware of what was happening, saying rituals over a body that was not present, and which would come back alive before a memorial mass. All right. Such masses are means, it is hoped, or praying them out of purgatory. Shortly after Otto's funeral, the understanding did begin to come, as the Father has over and over prepared me in advance to receive such unprecedented understanding that Otto was not in the coffin when it was lowered into the ground. I remembered that the coffin had been so heavy that 8 pallbearers had been required rather than the previously engaged 6 men. And Otto, before passing, had wasted away to less than 100 pounds. He had been switched out of his coffin when the curtains had been closed at the end of the service, before being placed in the funeral wagon by the undertaker, who was also... oh, no. The Undertaker was a fucking alien. Oh, this is brilliant. I love this lady. Oh my God. The Undertaker was a frickin' alien. I can't believe the Saucer Life podcast didn't mention this. This is the greatest revelation I've ever read. Later, I came upon a passage of Manly Hall's Secret Wisdom of the Ages, wherein it is told that people with whom the visitors have worked in the past, behind the scenes have been raised in consciousness, have mysteriously died, put into trance, and laid into coffins in order for the unsuspecting to pay their last respects, but that in reality a coffin full of rocks had been lowered into the grave. The initiate, instead of being buried, re-entered humanity under an assumed name to assist the visitors in helping humanity. I have passed my understanding on to my two sons, who have shared all my experiences with me, moving them along with me while in theater, radio, television, when they were little, taking them to all the saucer lectures. They heard me talk on the phone constantly, and they also talked to those visiting at the house. They began to make friends of their own, and their plans often included their teenage friends in saucer activities. They are aware of who are the visitors, and the father moving them in their daily living, talking to him on their feet, until now they conceive of their father coming back alive, not through wishful thinking, seeing him suffer, perhaps preferring that he has a long rest. They will wait to see if my understanding falls into place, rather than to doubt it, and if so, adjust, also on their feet, and if not happening as soon as they might wish it to happen, or I can feel it is to happen, not holding it against me, or considering it may never happen at all. Diane Gritch, Connie and Joe's little girl, who was also brought up on Universal Saucer Talk, met me the other day and asked me casually, "Has Otto come back yet, Laura?" Under any other circumstances, were this not part of the father's plan, a son would have his mother put away. Otto, it is my understanding, was taken up into the spaceships, rebalanced, reawakened to return alive soon. So that we can help him undo what he did in the living on this planet, to imbalance others and to keep them in that state. This will be done for several reasons. One, as I said, because he is part of our group, and time is too short to do else but move him along with us. Secondly, he helped me to grow by often trying to prevent my growing. As my consciousness began to expand, and before I myself realized just what was happening, had I not moved out of our marriage, I believe it would have resulted in certain insanity, as difficult as it was to do and as fond of him as I was. Thirdly, since I had been raised up in vibration by instrumentation, his negative energy body pattern, or infrared electrons to which the physical energy matter is attracted, remaining with his body until it disintegrates back into and as the dust or energy particles in the atmosphere, would be attracted to me as my vibrations lowered, dropping off to sleep, or when weary, or having down periods during menstruation. This made it very difficult, especially would it do this since still as thinking, energy has consciousness of its own. The proton, I'm guessing maybe it is the proton. The proton, protonic or soul body mind pattern, or the individual's positive self, leaves or withdraws from the physical body ordinarily to go into the atmosphere, to be taken into a spaceship to await the negative body self. The father initiating all by redrawing into the unknown, or from the center of the atom, repelling the last breath, just as he draws in his first breath. This is exactly the reverse of the statement made by the recorder of Genesis, of breathing into the body, denoting the reverse spectrum human mind and predominance as his conscious mind. Both negative and positive bodies then go to the sun by spaceship to be recharged and to rest, to be recondensed voluntarily to a single cell, for rebirth and re-expansion at this level of the planet. If not graduating, Otto would be aware at this point, as would both his negative and positive self, of the truth of the situation, seeing how mistaken it was, feeling badly, lonely, no one able to hear it or see it, even if it wanted to make amends. The hell where there is a pain of loss and a pain of self, pain of loss and pain of sense, as the Roman Christian Church teaches. The Roman Christian Church, influencing society's thinking, decided some people weren't bad enough to go to hell, so instead concluded there must be a place where they could get squared away. So they conceived a purgatory, where the spirit went for cleansing of sin before going to heaven. The key of rebirth right back here, lost or denied if considered. Oh my gosh. This represents a distorted understanding of the fact that those qualifying from this planet graduate from this planet to a more advanced planet by rebirth. Each individual has both experiences, however, the church being unaware there were two invisible bodies, and of course more, including the Father, the spirit body, at and as the center of our atoms, being enough for us to consider for the time being, plus the physical body held like a vice between the negative and positive bodies, as an aggregate of the millions of points of threefold energy atoms of our individual being. Unfortunately, a miss is as good as a mile, and the idea that we could be reborn or on more advanced planets, ancient Earthman was not able to conceive of this planet as being only one of billions of balls of Earth, even though the visitors taught him of other planets, or be reborn back here, which the individual could see for himself was no picnic. Incentive for growth, if only for escape, was lost. Now, however, those not qualifying to stay alive on this planet indefinitely will instead, upon dying, be reborn or even less evolved planets, but out of this solar system, since this is the lowest in vibration. Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Otto's coffin was filled with rocks. I can't believe I just read this. Poor Otto. Poor Otto. All right, Brobs. Goodbye.